Ryan Cole, a single father living in Austin, Texas, had built his entire life around his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. After losing his wife 3 years earlier, he balanced work and parenting with a quiet determination that impressed everyone who knew him. He worked as a senior technician for Hale Industries, a powerful aerospace corporation owned by billionaire Mason Hale. Ryan was known for solving impossible technical failures, often rescuing major projects at the last minute. Late one evening, he was urgently called to the company's restricted research facility in Nevada. A critical system malfunction threatened to shut down an experimental reactor, a project the government had invested millions into. When Ryan arrived, he expected to be alone with machines and data screens, but instead he found Mason Hale himself walking the floor, sleeves rolled up, studying the malfunction with tense eyes. Their unexpected encounter held a spark of mutual respect. Mason asked sharp questions, Ryan answered with calm precision. Within minutes, both understood each other's competence. But just as Ryan began recalibrating the system, the alarm system exploded with red lights. Thick warning sirens cut through the room. A reactor leak had triggered full lockdown. Doors slammed shut. Smoke seeped from the vents. Ryan's instinct sharpened instantly. Something was very, very wrong. The metal walls trembled as the reactor's internal pressure spiked, sending a deep vibration through the chamber. Mason shielded his face from the rising smoke, coughing hard as he pointed toward the emergency hatch. "Go, Ryan. There's a side exit, leave me and save yourself." His voice cracked with urgency. But Ryan didn't move. Leaving someone behind, especially someone who had stood right beside him in danger, wasn't something he could ever do. He grabbed Mason's arm firmly, pulling him toward the manual override panel. Another explosion echoed from the far end of the chamber, jolting both men off balance. Debris fell from the ceiling, and a pipe burst, releasing a wave of hot steam. Mason tried to push Ryan away, shouting over the noise, "You have a daughter waiting for you. Don't risk everything for me." The words hit Ryan hard, but they didn't break his resolve. "Exactly," he shouted back. "That's why I have to do the right thing." He knelt at the control panel, his fingers flying across exposed wires as sparks snapped dangerously close to his hands. Smoke thickened, heat intensified, and oxygen thinned. Mason watched in shock as Ryan rewired a system most engineers wouldn't dare touch. A sharp click echoed, and the emergency hatch unlocked with a hiss, offering their only chance at survival. They stumbled through the unlocked hatch just seconds before a violent burst shook the chamber behind them. The auxiliary tunnel was dimly lit, lined with emergency strobes that flickered like distant lightning. Mason leaned heavily on Ryan, barely staying conscious as they made their way toward the rescue corridor. Within minutes, security teams arrived, pulling Mason onto a stretcher while medics checked Ryan's burns and bruises. Despite the chaos, Mason kept his eyes on the man who had refused to abandon him. News of the near catastrophe spread quickly across the facility, but Mason ordered every detail kept quiet until he personally spoke to Ryan. The next morning, Ryan walked into the medical wing expecting a brief acknowledgement, maybe a handshake, maybe a thank you. Instead, Mason was already sitting up, studying him with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. "You didn't just save my life," Mason said quietly. "You changed something in me." Ryan shifted uncomfortably, unused to praise, but Mason pressed on, asking about his daughter, about the years he had spent raising her alone, about the strength that carried him through loss. By the end of the conversation, Mason had made a decision. He called an emergency board meeting, prepared to tell the entire leadership team the truth. Ryan Cole had prevented a national disaster, and deserved far more than a thank you. In the weeks that followed, Ryan stepped into his new role with a level of humility that surprised everyone around him. As head of emergency systems innovation, he worked directly beside Mason, who treated him not as an employee but as an equal partner in reshaping the company's safety standards. Their connection deepened naturally, built on trust forged in fire, on unspoken understanding, and on shared purpose. Mason visited Ryan's home often, bringing books for Lily, helping her with homework, and laughing with her in a way Ryan hadn't heard from another adult in years. For the first time since his wife's passing, Ryan felt the weight on his chest beginning to lift. When Mason invited Ryan and Lily to the company's annual gala in New York, Ryan expected a quiet evening. Instead, Mason walked on stage and revealed the truth of the reactor incident. He told the audience how a single father had risked his life to save him, not for recognition, not for reward, but because he believed every life mattered. The ballroom erupted with applause. Afterward, Mason pulled Ryan aside and offered him something unimaginable, a partnership in Hale Industries. Ryan's eyes filled with tears as Lily hugged his leg. Under the